Another video brought to you by the wiring house of monkeyfab here. He has started to accumulate all the things you knew to do, all the things you need to do LS and Holley based harnesses and sensors and popular things that we all talk about and do. So this is awesome. We identify as trans adjacent. This is a 4L80E connector, 4L80, 4L60, and the Holley connector, so you can make your own transmission harness. This one, I forget exactly what this is. It's the 2-row, almost like a mass air meter connector. I think it's for chassis on Silverados. Here's like your 3-pin cam, crank, map sensor style guy right here. So yeah, these are going to be more than likely, you know, cam and crank or opposite or similar. So here's the power tap stuff again. Depending on this connector head, it might go into the alternator. Relay socket, non-weatherproof, weatherproof relay socket. This is a Bosch LSU 4.9 wideband sensor plug. Look at this. This is a Bulkhead DP connector with 6 pins. So you can bulkhead that for fuel pumps and stuff. Oh, a bigger, this is one of those 12 gauge things for like a 10 gauge wire. Here's a single connector. Here's a 10 pin, he says, like could be used for an injector harness. So this may or may not match what's in the Holley already. I am not sure, but that's a 10 pin. What do we got here? Is this straight? If this is a straight connector, it's IAT. If it's the curved connector, it's coolant. This is the Gen 4 map sensor. This is a mass air meter plug, a 5-wire mass air meter. That's a Holley can connector. Look at that little guy. Those are fun. This is a 6-pin? A 6-pin, no, a 4-pin, I'm sorry, 4-pin, like 10 gauge crimp guy. Holley power, main power plug on there too. So it's really cool to see that Mr. Monkey has bought so many cool things and invested into so much wiring. Just wanted to show you guys that. I'm gonna do a little bit of a wiring project with this and try to make my own Holley harness. We're gonna see how that works out. I don't know if I'm gonna hate it or love it or never want to do it again. Probably, maybe a little bit of all of it. I wanted to show this off before it ends up in the car. I made a completely custom Holley harness from nothing. So I always wanted to do the firewall style cannon plug, even though I probably would hate it and whatever else. Learning experience, right? So I wired everything to a cannon plug, a 47 pin, divided everything up nice and neat. It has different size pins, so power ones for like injectors and coils are larger, so I utilized that. I even did the drive-by-wire and the wideband through there. I did my own custom breakouts, can, Holley I/O. This goes to my drive-by-wire pedal, so that's all inside the car. This is for the 6L80E, so it has its own OBD2 for scanning, data logging, programming, and then that's the connector for the trans. This is other spare I/O for the transmission, like tow haul, tap shift, neutral safety, a bunch of things. This is all the powers for injectors, coils, ECU through there. And I also powered the can through that also, so it's not drawing off of any mediocre things. I'm pulling out all of the Holley and Devon stuff. The other thing is I had the Sharp Performance bulkhead on there. It was working great, but to do this coil pack, guys, this cannon plug, barrel, firewall, aviation, bulkhead, all of the above, I actually bought this drill. It looks crazy, but it was only 13 bucks. So I bought that because this is exactly 43 millimeters I measured for the cannon plug, and that ends up being perfect. Because on here, I butchered this Sharp Performance guy in there, so I need to cover that, and I didn't want to like blow out my heater or anything else yet. I didn't want to do a bunch of things. So I figure, hey, I'll just put it right back through there. So I made a block off that's going to go in there that's this exact size, and I can dust this green for fun and pop rivet it over all that. So that's the plan for now. It is what it is, kids. And then this is the engine side harness that I put together, and I can talk about that then. It's just an engine side, and I pre-wired in the oil and cool. Well, not pre-wired. It has all the regular poly fixins. So this is the 5.3. I bolted the intake on and did all of my connections on this. I would already do it 3 different ways. It's always fun when you do this stuff. You do it different every time. It never seems to end, but I'm excited to have a all cleaned up Canon plug guy on there and see how it all works out. Quick update here. I have everything in. Everything's going good. Fuel situation is good. No fuel leaks as of yet. I just have it capped. I just have the fuel filter shut off. It does maintain pressure. I was messing with the PWM pumps. They were working great. I believe I melted the solid state relay. So the guy that makes them, he's going to take it apart and see what failed and possibly make it more robust, or we're just not going to make that mistake again. It may be worth fixing it on his end because people might do the same thing I did. Anyway, all of that aside, I have this guy pretty much ready to go. I got the bulkhead. It's not in the greatest spot, but not that big of a deal. Also, I believe I'm just going to take the whole car to Tom's because he's right down the street, and he's just going to do the transmission mount stuff for me so I don't have to fail and he doesn't have to undo it, kind of thing. Yes. Oh, yes. So I found an LS3 intake, and I want to try this guy out. It was extremely close to my firewall, so I have manual brakes, so I cut this nipple off and did an 1/8 inch plug, and then this was a very small hole, so I just put a finishing screw in there. The other thing I did was I fired up the old reciprocating multi-tool guy and shaved that flat. I plan to drill and tap for the air push lock fittings. So there's one over here, and then that had like a siphon tube on the inside that I also shaved out, and it had a tinier quick connect style vent hole blah blah barb there. So that's going to get tapped. They're all just going to get tapped for 1/8, and they're all just going to be these push lock style because that's what I already did to my map sensor. This, I'm going to see if it's the same as the 4-bar that I use. I may take the vacuum. I put one of these on my 4-bar map, so I may just put the 4-bar map in the way it's supposed to be in. Maybe, maybe not. To be determined, right? And that's the new stuff for now, other than my custom wiring. So it's dark in here, but I did get my ECU in with my new wiring. That's some leftover stuff, the CAN bus stuff. Again, it's going to be one of those pull it all into a small section and eliminate what I don't need. That's the stuff for the transmission, of course. And then this was my firewall bulkhead connector also, which I already want to redo, even though it works fine. It's one of those things, right? Every time you finish it, you immediately think of how you should have done it instead of just being happy with it being done. So it hasn't run the engine yet, but all my sensors work, my drive-by-wire works, stuff like that. So it's not going to be many failed wires at this point. If it is something wrong, we'll figure it out later. But yeah, the fuel and stuff's coming on, the throttle's working. I'm very pleased with all of that. Those are large points that need to function. I think the LS3 intake will be pretty cool to test and see the power difference. Maybe we'll swap the truck intake and the car one. I'm not sure yet. I don't really know if all that stuff's worth it. It's just worth it to floor the cars. So he's going to do the transmission mount. I'm going to take it over to Tom's. He's going to make the room for the trans. Set up the correct angle. Man, I just cannot speak today. Set up the correct angle. Make the mount pretty. I think I'm also going to have him change the intake tubing because of car LS3 intake will be lower than this, and we'll make sure all that doesn't interfere in some sort of a-hole way. And then I kind of wanted to sign it off to Tom at some point and be like, hey, do the entire Cody and Motorsports tube front end, do this, do that, do the turbo kit that feeds the blower, but I really want to see what this combo does with the blower. I really want to drive the damn car. I thought I'd be driving it much more than this, right? That's what happens. Thought I'd be driving it more than messing around with it. So once it's working and driving with the 6-speed and making power on the dyno, I kind of want to drive it till it's pretty crappy out. And then be like, hey Tom, do the tubes, add the turbo, and we'll see how all that stuff goes. I have a feeling I'm going to really love the blower combo, and part of me doesn't even want to add a turbo to it. And I guess we'll see what it comes down to, because this would be the perfect car to try all that. And I guess if I don't like it, I can choose one or the other later. And part of me really absolutely has to know what it would be like to have both and how it would work. And maybe it would be the most incredible thing. So yeah, I think I just have to. I have to kind of do it. I don't know. So the big one here today to see if we fail or not is I have this chart. Someone sent it to me, but I believe this is AVE or somebody's tap chart. It's filthy. They laminated it, so I could wipe it off. So it says for 8th by 27, we need 11/32 drill bit. So I have an 11/32. So, you know, we're gonna go for it. We can always glue this plastic stuff shut. So we'll fly right into it. Maybe we'll even bust out Mr. Hand. We forgot about you. Get in there, nice and deep black. Well now, kids, at 11/32 is pretty much bang on for the tap. Imagine that. It seemed to work great. I got both of these guys in there. Far easier to use, in my opinion, than some weird 5/16, 3/8 push lock garbage. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.